Unnamed Memory episode 12. And wow, what a 12 episode this was. What a last episode this was. I know I say this a lot, but I actually do mean it this time. Man, I was not expecting this type of episode at all. I was expecting maybe to see the Wish of Silence or maybe, a slice of life episode, but definitely nothing like this episode. This is one of those episodes that definitely leaves a mark when you watch it. It's one of those episodes that definitely also divides people on if it's good or if it's bad. I think I'm somewhere in the middle in that. I will explain it a little bit later. This is an episode that is not, doing the normal thing that last episodes do, like I said before. This is an episode that sought to do something else, and that something else was, again, something that I was not expecting at all. I was expecting a normal Shield episode, or maybe setting up a potential second season, but after seeing this episode, I don't think that is the case. I mean, I haven't read the source material. I don't know if there's actually more than this or more material after this 12 episodes. If I were to give my opinion, coming from a person that hasn't read the source material, I would guess that no, that there is no more source material after this, given by how the episode was handled, the thing that happened in this episode. It almost seems like it wrapped everything up and that there is actually no more after this, last episode. At least that is my opinion. I haven't read the source material, like I said. So yeah, I mean, what was this episode about? This episode actually started very, I guess you can say, normal, very chill. And if you were to only watch those, story moments, those first seconds, you might have thought that this episode was going to be a normal Shield episode, but man, you would have been wrong. And I was wrong actually in that, because what we saw after those first seconds, those first moments, was something very different. We see that he actually got sent back in time into, I guess you can say, 400 years ago. I think that is the time that it was mentioned. So yeah, just that alone was a huge surprise. I mean, we knew that that orb that he held in the, in the anime was very important, because we seen it before, and of course that orb was going to play a very important role, but I actually didn't know how huge that orb was going to be, and it turns out that it's actually very, very big. So yeah, he got sent back in time in a place or in a time where Tinasha hasn't been betrayed by Lana yet. It was before that. I think it was 6 months before that. So yeah, he got sent into that time, and I mean, normally you would have thought that maybe there was some way that he could go back, into his real timeline, but that was not the case, as we learned in this episode. But yeah, that was actually not the case. He couldn't actually go back into his timeline. And more to that, it was actually explained that, the timeline that he came from was actually now destroyed. Even before he actually did anything, he mentioned that the timeline that he came from was now destroyed. He couldn't now, go back to that timeline. So yeah, that's actually a big thing that was mentioned. And I mean, I was very surprised when I heard that, because that meant that he would not be able to go back to, Tinasha. And yeah, this is definitely where the episode, divides a lot of people. Mainly because a lot of people will argue that the last, 11 episodes were for nothing. If, now he gonna go back to his main timeline, what was the purpose of the 11 episodes? But then again, you can also argue that it was because of this. It was because now he knows what this Tinasha in the now timeline that he was transported to is feeling like. He knows what will happen to her if he doesn't do anything. So yeah, those 11 episodes before this episode actually play a big role, because it made Oscar make the decision that he made in this episode. Otherwise, he wouldn't have known what was his purpose there. Some people again may not like that. Other people may think otherwise. It is definitely one of those episodes that maybe doesn't go well with a lot of people. Let's leave it at that. And I have so many questions about this episode. One of them being is, if Oscar didn't do anything, what would have happened? Because it isn't actually explained, or at least I actually didn't understand what would have happened if he actually didn't do anything. Was the reason he disappeared from that timeline because he did something, because he saved, Tinasha? Was that the reason he disappeared, or was it something else? Because maybe he didn't do anything, maybe he could have lived in that timeline. I'm not sure if that was the case. What we do know is that he acted and he disappeared. The other question that I had, or at least it is implied heavily at the end of the episode, is that it seems that Tinasha at the end of the episode made it seem that she was going to travel back in time and maybe prevent the things that happened in this episode from happening. So maybe she could have that future that she wants to have with Oscar happening in the future. It is even said in the episode that the timelines in this anime are always changing, are always being rewritten. So yeah, even though this episode had this happening, maybe that was not the true ending of the anime. Maybe that is simply how this anime wanted to end, that there is actually no, I guess you can say, ending timeline. There is actually no ending per se. It is always a cycle of different timelines happening. I said at the beginning that I'm somewhere in the middle. The reason I say this is because I feel like the past 11 episodes were really not that important, but another part of me thinks that they were actually important because otherwise these 12 episodes wouldn't happen. Then again, another part of me thinks that, you know, seeing this type of episode where it's a lot different than other, you know, final episodes from other animes, it's a little bit refreshing, so I like that. But then another part of me thinks that I would have liked to see, you know, a normal Shield episode where Tinasha and Oscar were just, you know, having a fun time, having a Shield time, having a great time, and you know, just that it ended like that. I would have liked to see that also. And overall, what do I think about the anime? What do I think about the 12 episodes? This is definitely one of those animes that you can say it is worth watching, but while always keeping in mind that you should not really be invested in it because maybe the ending may disappoint you. So I mean, yeah, that was my opinion of the anime. Definitely a shocking 12 episodes. So yeah, again, that was my opinion of the episode. I hope you enjoyed my reviews, and yeah, that was everything by me.